Guys, it's me, Mr. Adams. I'm going to go over how to lay out the top and bottom plate for the front wall of the tiny house that we're building here in class. All right. Again, if you looked at our blueprint, our tiny house is 4 feet wide by 8 feet long. We're going to build a front wall here on our little tiny house. We're going to put a door in the middle of the wall. The door is going to be a 38.5-inch rough opening, so that we can install a 36-inch wide door if we were doing this for real in the real world, all right? So the first one we do, if you guys recall when we're going to build our walls, is we get our top and bottom plate, all right? So here those guys have cut them. We've cut our plates. Our top and bottom plates are going to be made out of 2x4s. They're going to be 96 inches long. After we get the top and bottom plate cut, we're going to sight down it. We're going to get nice straight ones for the wall plates. You don't want to use crooked lumber on your wall plates if you can avoid it, all right? So we're going to sight down it, make sure that our crown or our crook is up. All right, on both pieces, we're going to sit them down here like this and make sure that we've sighted them and our crown is up. In addition to that, before you even do that, what you need to do is measure back off the edge of the subfloor and mark a line 4 inches. We've snapped our blue line here. That's going to represent the inside of our exterior wall here, okay? Next, we sighted our 2 8-foot boards. All right, we put our crowns up. Now that the crowns are up, I'm going to put the boards exactly where they go. Okay, this is where the wall will be, and I'm going to take one screw to temporarily tack it, so while I'm laying it out, the boards don't shift on me. Okay, so I'm going to take one 3-inch screw, and I'm just going to tack it together. Just temporary, we'll take that out later on. I personally like to tack them again flush with the edge so I don't get confused. I take all this out before I build my wall. But for now, I got my whole plate system fastened to the floor so it's not moving while I'm laying it out. That's important, okay? The next thing I do is I want to find the center of my wall. Now we measured our boards 96 inches, which as you guys know is 8 feet long. What's half of 8 feet?
4 feet.
4 feet, right? So if I wanted to find the middle of my wall, I'm going to measure in here 4 feet. And I'm going to put a C on my board for center. Okay? I'm going to mark it 4 feet. I'm going to use my tri-square, okay, because this is wall layout. Again, your tri-square is the same thickness as your 2x4, which makes this extremely helpful. All right? Step 1. I mark a C here for center. C for center. That means that's the center of my rough opening, and it's also the center of my wall. I'm going to sharpen my pencil up here a little bit so that we can make clear marks. Again, I'm using a carpenter's pencil, which makes it really helpful because I can sharpen it right on the job site as I need to. Now my rough opening is a 36-inch wide door, requires a 38.5-inch rough opening so that I have the thickness for my jam material and a little bit of area to shim the door up when I go to put it in. Okay, so 38.5 inches, I want it centered over the center line, so I gotta take 38.5 and divide that by 2. Do you guys know what that would be? Anybody? It's 19.25. I'm going to tell you the answer since we're filming. The 38.5 divided by 2 is 19.25. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure over 19.25 from my center line, and I'm going to put a mark. How I do that is I just take my tape measure and I mark it into the board, and I'm going to come over here and I'll make a legible mark. Just one mark like so. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to mark 19.25 from the center this way. Okay? Then to double check my math, I'm going to measure from line to line to see if I have 38.5, and I do. Okay, I have 38.5 inches. That represents the inside of my rough opening. Now, as you guys recall, to make a rough opening, we're going to need a jack stud and a trimmer and a king stud. Okay, so we have our 2 marks here, 19.25 from the center this way, 19.25 from the center this way. Now I'm going to lay my tri-square on my mark. I'm going to mark off my jack stud like so. Jack, king. Okay? Big marks. J, J, KK, Jack King, okay? So from the center line to the inside of my jack stud, I have 19 1/4 inches, okay? Now from the center line this way, I'm gonna do the same thing. My 19 1/4 inch mark, I'm gonna put my tri-square one there, just like so. I'm gonna mark Jack, Jack, King, King. This represents the inside of my jack stud to the inside of my jack stud, and we've gone over that many times, so you guys should understand that, okay? The distance in between here is 38.5 inches. Now this is my exterior wall, and it's gonna need the other exterior wall butts into it on the outside corner here. So the next thing I'm gonna lay out is my outside corners, okay? Those are the XBXs that we talked about before. So I need a full height stud here at the end. I need 2 blocks in the middle, and I need a full height stud here as well. So my layout marks are gonna be X, 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 B, B for block. Stud, block, stud, okay? That'll be an outside corner there. We're gonna go down here to this end, we're gonna need an outside corner here as well. So we'll take our tri-square, we're gonna make X, B, X's again. X, B, X. So these are our outside corner posts again. X, B, X, X, B, X. That represents our outside corner post. So first of all, we did the rough opening, then we marked out our drywall nailers or our corner posts. Then the last thing we're gonna do is lay out our 16 inches on center, which you guys have done many times. Gotta find my tape measure, where did I put it? Oh, all right, now we're gonna lay out our 16-inch centers. So we're gonna hook on the end of our boards here. All right, this is where our plywood would start on our wall. So we're gonna lay out this way. We're gonna mark 15 1/4, and we're gonna mark it off to this side so that the center of the stud is at 16 inches. The legs layout mark is gonna be at 31 1/4. And again, I know that because this one's red on my, see all these are black numbers and it switches to a red number. All black numbers switches to a red. Every red number is 16 inches apart. So again, I need to fall back 3/4 of an inch for half the thickness of my stud. This one in the middle of my wall, in the middle of my rough opening is gonna be a cripple stud. So I mark that CX, all right? The next stud is gonna be 47 1/4. All right, it's right in the center of our wall. It's already marked CX. The next one's gonna be 63 1/4. That too is inside my rough opening, so that's gonna be a cripple stud. Then I'm gonna come out here, I need 79 1/4. That's gonna be a full height stud, and I'm done. Now I go back to my tri-square, and I mark all these off. I'm gonna mark both sides of my stud here. Now some people only mark one side, but since we're just learning, it's good to clearly mark everything, okay? You're not the only one working on this framing crew. Everybody has to know what you're building. Okay, so CX there. A CX here, that's already the center of our wall. We get a stud there. That doesn't always happen, but it's happening this time. And we have a CX there. So inside of my rough opening here, we have cripple stud, cripple stud, cripple stud. In fact, we won't really need them at all in this wall because our header is going to be up tight against our bottom plate. But I still like to lay them out in case that's not the case, all right? Over here's a full height stud. Okay? Now we're done. We're ready to start building our wall, but it is critical that you lay the plates out before you start building the wall so you can understand what you're doing. It's a door opening. Just to review, the first thing we did was we snapped a line on our floor. The second thing we did was we cut our plates 96 inches long. After we had our plates cut, we sighted our plates to make sure that the crowns were up. We made sure we had straight plates too. You don't want to use crooked lumber on your wall plates. You can hide crooked lumber when your wall studs or your cripple stud, cut them up for cripple studs, other things, but you don't want to use crooked lumber on your wall plates. All right, so we sighted them, we made sure they were straight. We cut them 96 inches, we tacked them together so they don't slide around while we're laying them out. We tacked it to the floor so it's not sliding around while we're laying it out. Then we started laying it out. We've found the center of our wall. We measured over 19 1/4. We measured over 19 1/4. We installed our Jack and King locations, okay, for our rough openings. After we did that, we laid out our outside corner, then we laid out our 16 inches on center. It could be a 24-inch on center situation, but in this case, we're gonna do 16 inches on center, and we're all finished with our layout. Okay, so now we can start building our wall. To build our wall, we've unfastened this here, like so. Now in this case, our wall, now we can spread our plates apart and start installing our wall. What I would do first in this particular case is I would put my king studs in first beside my door. So king, king, then I would build my header, install my header. The header goes tight up against the bottom plate. Then I would install my jack studs. Then I would install my outside corner post, and then the rest of the studs is how I would build this. In the same order, basically, that I laid it out. One of the main things to remember when you're building it is you gotta get nails into your header and stuff, so you wanna leave your studs out beside the header, the rough opening locations while you're installing everything. Does that make sense? And we do those last. You guys got it? That's a lot of information, but we practice this many times, so you should be able to do this by now, all right? All right, thanks, Luke.